There is a saying that goes, teachers do not only teach students, they can also learn from their students. In my case, I learned a life-changing lesson from one of my students. It was a hot and humid Friday evening. I first met Thông when he came to my school for a placement test. He appeared a small medical university student in his yellow Crocs, which were paired with a bright yellow hoodie and faded blue jeans. Contrary to this eye-catching choice of outfit, he seemed rather shy and reserved. Thông caught my attention immediately the moment he stepped into the room, but it was not for his conflicting appearance. His eyes, veiled behind thick glasses, were sparkling bright. Only some time later, when he had become one of my students, did I understand why I was so fascinated by his eyes. It was a hot and humid summer evening, and I just dismissed the last class of the day. The students and I were just chatting on our way to the parking lot as usual. I still distinctly remember the chill that ran through my body ended on the fingertips, leaving me frozen for a moment. I learned English because I like it. Thông replied to my question with his sparkling eyes. I asked him, why do you need to learn English, considering him having no intention of going abroad? 16 years of chasing academic achievement flashed through my mind, and I knew immediately, for all those years, my eyes had never sparkled when I talk about studying, and that I'd been jealous of the look Thông had in his eyes the moment we met. In order to better understand that seemingly exaggerated reaction of mine, let me tell you what kind of student I used to be. I can't recall much from my primary school experiences, except from the fact that my friends and I got at least a 9 for all the tests we took. Studying felt like brushing our teeth. There was nothing exciting about it, and we did it out of habit, knowing it would be beneficial in the long run. But how? No one ever gave me the answer, and I did not question it either. Going through secondary school and high school was like eating dinner. It was a little more difficult, as I had to endure physics and chemistry on most days, so I could enjoy my favorite dish, English, on the other days. But studying had become part of my routine. I'd never been a picky eater, which means I can eat whatever I'm fed with. Just like how I managed to stay within the top 5 of my classes in terms of GPA, despite all the dull, dry, and inexplicably necessary subjects. At the end of the day, what problems can there be with following routines? Or so I thought. Do you remember Thong's sparkling eyes? In retrospect, I believe that sparkle came from him knowing why he was studying. He was purposeful. He was happy with going to classes and doing homework. I found myself jealous of him because I'd never felt the same way about studying. I worked hard. I did well in school. I even graduated from one of the most prestigious universities in Ho Chi Minh City, being in the top 10% of the graduating class. However, I was nothing but a creature of habit, which followed the norm without even wanting to be happy or satisfied. And the worst part is, I was completely unaware of my ignorance. That made learning pretty much meaningless to me. But fortunately, I have eventually found my happiness. Last February, during that holiday, I signed up for a course called CELTA, Certificate in Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. I cleared up my schedule. I borrowed a big sum of tuition fee, and I pursued an intensive full-time course at a school 13-hour flight away from Vietnam. The whole month of February was an absolute joy as I woke up every day looking forward to every new, exciting lesson. And I believe, had anyone asked, why do you take CELTA? my eyes would have sparkled answering that question. And that's when I discovered happy learning. Happy learning happens when you want to learn and you learn purposefully. We tend to go to school, take exams, do homework because we're told to do so, not because we ourselves feel the need to. In other words, we feel like we have to do such boring things, usually out of fears. The fear of being scolded by our parents, of being left behind by our peers, or of not having a bright future ahead. It's similar to the time your mom told you to do your homework when you had already planned to do so. Before that, you were really excited and you thought you would do the math homework first, then some chemistry, then some literature. But the moment your mom told you to do the exact same thing, you lost all your interest and excitement. That is because the fact of being told to do something or the fear of being scolded are extrinsic motivations, a kind of incentive that comes from outside factors, not within yourselves. This kind of motivation is useful in pushing you forward, but it doesn't give you any sense of happiness, fulfillment, or the wish to learn more. On some occasions, it even hinders you from enjoying the whole process, which is in this case, learning. Meanwhile, it is intrinsic motivations, our internal drive, that stimulates you to work and study to your full potential. Think about the time you started to play a very interesting game. You wanted to master it, so you learned how to play and win it purposefully. No one told you to do so. And do you remember how excited and engaged you were in the whole learning process? How you were overjoyed when you won your first game? And how you wanted to continue to explore even better ways to win that game? What if you had your own intrinsic motivations? What if you felt the same way about studies, like when you play your favorite game? Thông didn't learn English because of his parents' wishes or for a certificate. He liked it and he wanted to be more proficient. I didn't take CELTA because I was told to or for fear of missing out. I wanted to be a better teacher for my students. And as it turned out, I learned so much more in that 1 month compared to 12 years in school and 4 years in university. I no longer dreaded assignments, but I enjoyed the knowledge I gained from them instead. And now I still want to continue my learning journey. That's my intrinsic motivation, my own purpose. So, how can you achieve happy learning like Thông and I did? The easiest way is simply to learn the things that you like. Put in as much effort as you can to excel in that subject. Satisfy your needs, your curiosities, and your desires. However, as high school students, I know you have more than just 1 or 2 subjects to focus on, right? So I'm here today to tell you some tips on how to learn even your least favorite subjects happily. The key is to focus on your intrinsic motivations instead of the extrinsic ones, like fears. In his book called Drive, the New York Times bestseller author Daniel Pink listed 3 key factors for his motivation model: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. It is this trio that drives, engages, and stimulates you to work to your full potential. Let's talk autonomy. Take control. Be aware that you are in full control of your ability, time, and energy. Mastery. The desire to improve. Always aim to become the best. Believe that you can always do better and don't be happy with being average. Purpose. Find a practical purpose to study. This should be related to your greater purpose, like getting a scholarship or your career goals. Let's take history as an example. When I was in high school, I thought history was dull and dry, and I hardly ever paid full attention in my history classes. However, had I known that my greater purpose was to become an English teacher, I would have been more purposeful with this subject. As a matter of fact, teaching English involves teaching not only the language, but also the historical aspects of it. And a good understanding of Vietnam and the world's history would enable me to do my job much better. Again, had I known about all of these benefits, I would have had my own intrinsic motivation to achieve mastery of all the historical events. And I would have had the autonomy to draw up a schedule to learn history more effectively. And I wouldn't have been so miserable in all of my history lessons. So, the bottom line is, in order to achieve happy learning, step 1, set your goals in life. Step 2, find a connection between those goals and the subjects you are studying. Step 3, work hard, do your best to excel in what you pursue. And finally, take control of your life. My most ambitious wish is that this talk of mine will put sparkles in your eyes, like how a simple saying of Thông changed my life. Thank you and happy learning.